What if I told you the most powerful fertilizer you'll ever use is sitting in your trash can right now? For decades, gardening companies have sold us the same story that the only path to big, healthy harvests runs through expensive blue powders, synthetic chemicals, and bottles filled with ingredients we can't even pronounce. They told us gardening gets harder as we age, that soil gets tired, that we need heavier bags just to grow a single tomato. That story is a lie. And today, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you 6 free micro liquids made entirely from kitchen scraps that outperform anything you can buy in a store. These aren't dead fertilizers. These are living elixirs packed with microbes that rebuild your soil from the inside out. But here's the thing. Stay until the end, because the last liquid on this list is something extraordinary. It's a mysterious black microbial brew inspired by an ancient farming secret that kept the same soil fertile for thousands of years. I poured it on a plant I was ready to throw away. 3 weeks later, that plant didn't just survive, it exploded with fruit. So grab your tea or coffee, settle in, and let's get started. You won't believe what we're about to uncover. Liquid number 1, rice water, the microbial alarm clock. Let's start with something so ordinary. Most of us let it disappear down the drain without a second thought. Rice water. I know what you're thinking. It's just starchy water. How could that possibly help anything grow? But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface of your soil. And once you understand it, you'll never pour rice water down the drain again. When you rinse uncooked rice, that milky water is loaded with complex carbohydrates, amylose and amylopectin. These are long chains of energy that our bodies can't really use. But to the microbes living in your soil, it's an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet. Think of your soil as a sleeping giant. Buried inside it are beneficial microbes, tiny allies like lactobacilli that protect your plants and convert raw organic matter into usable nutrients. Most of the time, they're dormant, waiting. But when rice water hits the soil, those starches act like an alarm clock. The microbes wake up, they stretch, they multiply, they start breaking things down faster. And suddenly, your soil comes alive, energized from within. Now, there are 2 ways to use this. I think and the one you choose depends on what your plants need. The quick wash. Simply rinse your uncooked rice until the water turns cloudy and save that liquid. In this gentle elixir, you'll find traces of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and B vitamins, particularly thiamine, which helps delicate seedlings and transplants handle stress. Pour it directly onto houseplants or young seedlings that need a gentle boost. But if you want something stronger, something that doesn't just nudge the soil awake but kicks the door down, you want the fermented version. Take that same rice water, pour it into a clean jar, and cover it with a breathable cloth so the microbes can breathe. Let it sit on your counter for 2 to 3 days. As it ferments, it'll start to smell slightly sour. Don't worry. That smell is the smell of success. And it means beneficial lactic acid bacteria have moved in and started multiplying. Once fermented, dilute it. 1 cup of rice water to 10 cups of regular water, then pour it over your garden soil. This fermented version suppresses harmful fungi, stimulates root development, and accelerates plant growth in a way that seems unbelievable until you see it with your own eyes. This costs nothing. It takes almost no effort, and yet it has the power to transform lifeless dirt into a thriving ecosystem, all because you decided to save something most people throw away. Liquid number 2, oat water, the nitrogen bomb with a built-in pest shield. Now let's move from rice to another kitchen staple that's been sitting quietly in almost every pantry. Oats. We think of oats as a heart-healthy breakfast, warm and comforting on a cool morning. But in the garden, oats become something far more powerful. A natural nitrogen elixir with a gentle pesticide built right in. Two gifts wrapped in a single glass of water. Here's what most gardeners don't realize. Oats are surprisingly rich in nitrogen, more than most grains we cook with. And as every gardener knows, nitrogen is the lifeblood of leafy growth. It's what gives spinach that deep emerald color, what makes lettuce crisp and full, what pushes basil to produce those fragrant new shoots. If your greens look pale, tired, or slow growing, nitrogen is usually the missing link. But instead of buying a bottle, you can unlock that nutrient with just a handful of oats. But nitrogen isn't even the best part. The real magic lies in something called saponins. Have you ever rinsed oats and noticed a soft foam forming on the surface? And those are saponins. They're natural compounds produced by plants, and they do something remarkable. They break the surface tension of water, allowing it to penetrate deeper into dry, compacted soil. If you've ever had a pot or a garden bed that just refused to absorb water, where the moisture beads up and slides off, oat water can open that soil right up. And there's a quiet bonus many gardeners stumble onto by accident. Saponins mildly irritate soft-bodied pests. Slugs and snails simply don't like it. Use this regularly, and you may notice fewer nibbled leaves, fewer slime trails, and a little more peace in the garden. How to make it. Put 2 tablespoons of uncooked oats in a jar. Pour in about 1 liter of clean water. Let it soak for a few hours or overnight for a stronger brew. Swirl gently until the water turns cloudy and slightly foamy. Strain out the oats. They'll be fine on your compost pile. And keep the milky water. Pour this around your leafy greens, basil, lettuce, spinach, chard. Anything that thrives on lush green growth will respond beautifully. Nitrogen, hydration support, and gentle pest control. All free, all from your breakfast table. Liquid number 3, milk and molasses, the calcium shield that stops blossom end, rot. Let's talk about a problem that has broken almost every gardener's heart at least once. You watch your tomato plants thrive. The leaves are full and green. The fruit is setting beautifully. Everything looks perfect. Then one day, you pick up a tomato and there it is. The bottom has turned black, sunken, and leathery. Blossom end rot. It stings every time, doesn't it? And after all that work, this dark spot feels almost personal. At its core, blossom end rot is mostly a calcium problem. The plant simply couldn't transport enough calcium to the fruit in time. And the solution has been sitting in your refrigerator all along. Milk. Plain, ordinary milk. But in the garden, milk is far more powerful than most people know. Yes, it's rich in calcium, which strengthens plant cell walls and supports healthy fruit development. But milk has another remarkable talent. It becomes a biological shield against fungal disease. Researchers from Brazil to New Zealand have confirmed that milk is a surprisingly effective treatment against powdery mildew, that persistent white dust that creeps over squashes, cucumbers, roses, and so many beloved plants. When milk proteins hit sunlight, they create a natural antiseptic reaction that gently burns the fungus without harming the leaf underneath. But here's a secret I learned from an old farmer whose garden always looked too good to be true. He never used milk alone. He always combined it with molasses. Molasses is pure energy, thick, sweet, and loaded with iron, magnesium, potassium, and sugars that soil microbes devour like a feast. When you combine milk and molasses, you're not just treating a calcium deficiency. You're waking up the underground workforce that helps shuttle calcium to every part of the plant. How to make it? Dilute your milk with an equal amount of water. Add 1 tablespoon of molasses. Once the mixture turns a warm caramel color, it's ready. If powdery mildew is creeping across your leaves, spray this directly onto the foliage. If blossom end rot is threatening your tomatoes or peppers, pour it carefully into the root zone. And don't worry if the milk in your fridge is a day or 2 past its date. Expired milk works just as well. Instead of pouring it down the drain, Pour it into your soil and let it nourish something that can actually use it. Milk for strength, molasses for energy. Two everyday ingredients that become a powerful garden ally. Liquid number 4, potato peel tea, the underground multivitamin. Once we've woken up the soil and strengthened the leaves, it's time to turn our attention underground, to the roots. If you want bigger, stronger root systems and thriving tubers, you don't need specialty fertilizers. You need the humble potato. Potato peels are packed with potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, and vitamins. Potassium in particular is the great regulator of the plant world. It controls how water flows through plant tissue and helps roots handle drought, cold, and stress with far more resilience. How to make it? Save the peels from 3 or 4 medium potatoes and put them in a small pot. Cover with water. Bring it to a boil and let it simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. This heat breaks down the cell walls of the peels and releases their minerals directly into the water. This is important. Let the liquid cool completely before using it. Hot water can damage delicate root tissue, so patience is key here. Once cool, strain out the peels and dilute the tea with an equal amount of fresh water. This tuber elixir becomes a potent booster for your root vegetables, carrots, beets, your potatoes, and even for flowering plants that depend on strong root development. Think of it as a simple homemade multivitamin for everything growing beneath the surface. As the roots grow stronger, the entire plant will follow. Liquid number 5, fermented banana brew, rocket fuel for flowers. Now let's talk about the moment every gardener waits for, the bloom, the flowers, the color. And when it comes to supercharging blooms, nothing in the homemade world beats the king of potassium, the banana. Now it's tempting to bury banana peels whole. Many of us have done it. I certainly did. But I had to learn the hard way that whole peels take months to break down. And while they're decomposing underground, they can actually pull nitrogen out of your soil temporarily, making plants look pale and sluggish. What we want is speed. We want efficiency. And that's why we turn these peels into a fermented banana brew. How to make it? Chop your banana peels into small pieces to expose more surface area. Drop them into a clean jar. Cover with water and add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar or molasses. That little touch of sweetness is what unlocks everything. The sugar begins extracting nutrients, especially potassium, from the peel into the water, while simultaneously feeding the natural bacteria that kickstart fermentation. Let it sit for at least 3 days, or up to a full week for an even more potent potion. As it ferments, you'll see bubbles forming. The liquid will turn a rich amber color. The smell will shift to something sweet and slightly tangy. That's your signal that you've captured the good stuff. What you now hold is concentrated potassium energy. Dilute it. 1 cup of fermented banana liquid to 10 cups of water, and feed it to your flowering plants just as they start setting buds. Roses, peppers, tomatoes. They all respond beautifully. You'll notice deeper colors, stronger blooms, and an overall surge of vitality that feels almost immediate. This is flower fuel, straight from your kitchen waste, transformed by the simple science of fermentation. Liquid number 6, the black microbial liquid, the ancient secret that changed everything. Now we've arrived at the one I've been saving for last. This is the method that changed my entire garden forever. This is the holy grail of regenerative gardening, the black microbial liquid. If you've ever heard the word terra preta, you already know where this story begins. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, where the soil is naturally poor and thin, archaeologists discovered pockets of rich coal-black earth. Soil so fertile that even after thousands of years, it still produces crops with almost unbelievable potency. And at the heart of this miraculous soil sits one ingredient, biochar. Biochar isn't just charcoal. It's charcoal that has been intentionally produced, burned in a way that leaves behind pure carbon. But here's where most people make a critical mistake. Raw biochar does almost nothing for your plants. In fact, it can actually make things worse. Raw charcoal is like a bone-dry sponge. The moment you add it to your soil, it tries to fill itself up by absorbing water and nutrients that were meant for your plants. But if you charge it first, everything changes. Imagine a single piece of biochar under a microscope. You'd see a honeycomb pattern of tiny chambers, millions of microscopic spaces and tunnels. A single gram of biochar can have the surface area of 2 basketball courts, and those tiny chambers become permanent homes, essentially condominiums, for soil microbes. Safe, protected, and endlessly active. How to make the black microbial liquid? Start with the charcoal itself. You can buy biochar or make it at home by burning small woody scraps in a cone-shaped pit until the pieces glow red, then quenching them with water. Once cool, crush the charcoal into small chunks. Then create the living brew. Fill a bucket with water, add a generous handful of compost or worm castings, and stir in a tablespoon of molasses to feed the microbes. Within minutes, the water will come alive, swirling with bacteria, fungi, and tiny organisms ready to go to work. Now comes the marriage. Pour your crushed biochar into this living brew and let it soak for 24 to 48 hours. During this time, the microbes and nutrients seep deep into every tunnel of the charcoal. They settle in, filling those empty spaces with pulsing life. The charcoal protects them, houses them, and keeps them moist even when the surrounding soil dries out. When you finally pour this black microbial liquid, along with the charged charcoal pieces, into your garden, you're not just feeding your plants for a day. You're creating a permanent coral reef beneath your feet. These charcoal pieces will remain in your soil for hundreds, even thousands of years. They'll store water during droughts. They'll hold onto nutrients during heavy rains. And they'll provide a long-term home for the microbial life that constantly feeds your plants from within. You do the work once, and the soil keeps working for you forever. You water less. You fertilize less. You stress less. Because the soil sustains itself. With every handful of black microbial liquid, you're not just improving this year's harvest. You're leaving a legacy, a living foundation that will benefit future gardeners, even future generations. It is the most lasting gift you can give your soil. Bonus, Baker's Yeast, the transplant miracle worker. Before we wrap up, I want to give you one last incredibly simple secret. Something almost magical for young seedlings or any plant that seems frozen, unsure of its next step. The surprising hero? Ordinary baker's yeast. When yeast reactivates in warm water, it produces natural plant hormones, cytokinins, and auxins. These are the same chemical signals that roots use to tell themselves to grow, to spread, to anchor, and to thrive. How to make it? Dissolve 1 teaspoon of dry yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar in 1 liter of warm water. Let it sit for about an hour. When you see foam rising to the surface, the yeast is awake, active, and ready. Water your transplant or struggling plant with this mixture and watch how quickly it settles in. The difference between plain water and yeast water can be astonishing. It eases transplant shock, stimulates root growth, and helps a stressed plant take hold again. Simple, costs pennies, works wonders. Your challenge. Here's my challenge for you. Something small, something fun, and something that could change the way you grow forever. This week, pick one of these micro liquids. Just one. Maybe save your rice water tonight instead of dumping it. Maybe toss some banana peels into a jar. Maybe try the oat elixir on your lettuce. Or brew a little yeast water for your seedlings. Pick a single plant and compare it against the rest. Be your own scientist. Watch with curiosity. Write down the changes. Because I promise you this, the moment you see a dying plant push out a bright new leaf, the moment you taste a tomato that glows with flavor, because it finally had enough potassium. The moment your soil starts smelling alive again, you will never feel the need to go back to those expensive blue powders. Gardening has always been about more than just plants. It's our connection to life. It keeps us moving, keeps us learning, keeps us feeling rooted in a world that moves too fast. And these homemade methods, saving your peels, fermenting your scraps, brewing microbial liquids, remind us that nothing is truly waste. Everything can become nourishment again if we understand how to unlock its value. And that includes us, our wisdom, our experience, our hands in the dirt. We still have so much to give. If you discovered something new today, or if you have your own cherished garden secret, share it with us in the comments. I love reading your stories. They truly make my day. Keep your hands dirty, keep your hearts green, and remember, the best fertilizer is the gardener's shadow, though a little potato peel tea certainly doesn't hurt. See you soon, my friends. If these kitchen secrets have changed the way you see your trash and your garden, please subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. We're uncovering natural wisdom that's been hidden for far too long. Let's grow a fertile future together. The next treasure opens soon.